how do we determine which voices inside ourselves are authentic and which ones are bots, for lack of a better term?
We talked about the intrapersonal stuff that people are talking about integration, or people learning to love ourselves, accept ourselves, and things like that. And that gets kind of confusing when you're talking about some part of ourselves, some message in there that doesn't seem to have any positive intention toward us whatsoever. Now there can be some very negative things that have positive intention. That's that's another subject, probably complicated. But and again, I want to make the distinction. These are all metaphors. So it's like this is not science. This is not absolute truth. So it's like you use what's helpful, you use it in the way that it's most helpful to you. But I tend to think of things like that's a bot are basically unchangeable messages in my head. There are parts of me that if the part of me is talking to me, even if it's sabotaging or if it's negative, if it's amenable to change, if I can, because sometimes you can find that. You can find a negative part that says, Tom, hey Tom, you don't need to do this. You need to stop putting yourself out there. You're just going to get disappointed. You're going to get hurt. Don't forget, you're no good at this. So it's got all this negative stuff. But if we go in there, you can go in there sometimes and you can ask and say, well, talk to that part in particular. I'll do that in therapy sometimes. Say, what's your concern about that for Tom? And that part says, well, because he's going to fail. It's like, well, how do you feel about him failing? The part says, I don't want him to fail. I'm trying to help him. Now I may be a little suspicious of that for a bit because these bots can lie, but it's like if I check that out, I find that okay, well, if that part is amenable to change, then I might be able to say to it, it's like, I wonder if there's so you want to protect Tom from embarrassment, and it says, yes, that's what I want. So how about we do this? How about we try to find some other ways to do that other than having him just stay at home and not take any risk? And so, if that part would actually, and when people get into this inner conversation, you'll know these guys will talk to you. It's like if they say, okay, well, say, now that's an example of somebody, that's a part of me that is amenable to change and help. And so now I'm going to change the way I've been protecting myself a little bit. The other thing, like my alcoholism is a perfect example of what I consider just a bot. It's like it's not going to change no matter what. It thinks one thing: alcohol is the thing. It's like, and the only reason it's going to ever suggest that I not drink, it used to suggest that at certain times, but it was so that I could prove to myself or someone else that I wasn't an alcoholic, so that I could go back to drinking. So only the goal was always the same. I always say that the denial system of alcoholism is definitely a bot, and it works like a good attorney. Its job is not to keep us drunk and high all the time. Its job is to protect our right to drink and use. And so it will do whatever it needs to do to, including it will feign support for recovery. Tom, I think it's a good idea that no, I think the sobriety thing's a really good idea, but it's Thursday afternoon. So, now's not the time to stop. We can stop on Monday. Or whatever the con is there, but it's like it's always there to do that. A lot of times my should monster certainly is a bot, in the sense that it's just a part of me that it's not a part of me. It's a programmed message. It's just a message I picked up and recorded. Ultimately, sometimes they're in other people's voices, but we go in the studio somewhere along the line and we re-record it in our own voice, so we don't know where the source of it is. But it's just, if it's always going to come back to the same message. And here's the only point about distinguishing between a bot and an actual authentic part of your personality. The bots, we just separate from and remain separate from. It's like, that's where, I always talk about my alcoholism as tequila boy sitting in the corner. He's just there. He's not going to go anywhere. He's, but he doesn't have any voting rights on the committee. He doesn't have anything. Neither does my should monster. It's like, now I have a healthy part of me that is self-critical, that is very, very helpful to me, that certainly has voting rights on my committee. But that should monster is there because it's always just it's always looking for an opportunity to tell me that I'm a piece of shit. So after I recognize that, there's an old expression in the interpersonal relationships that says, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And it's not just what they tell you, but and so when I have years and years and years, and I'll ask a client if we're talking about a certain negative message, is there ever been a time when this message would be different, or has there ever been a time when this message expressed some even reasonable amount of doubt that they may be right? And if the answer is no, they're absolutely right all the time. Those messages on the inside of us and our intrapersonal landscape are just like messages from people that we know in our interpersonal relationship, people who are always right. Think about it. We all know those people, but people who are always right, they're unwilling, unable to acknowledge that they're wrong. We don't trust those people, and we don't seek them out for their opinions, because their opinions are already known. It's like we know what they're going to say before they speak. What we get to with our addiction recovery and with the other saboteurs, like the should monster or these very negative, condemning voices, is you get to the place where you actually want to learn to stop listening once you recognize their voice. And I often point out, we know people like this. People that basically, if you even hear the sound of their voice, you just go, oh, never mind. It's like, forget it. That's why we just have it inside of ourselves. We need to be able to go because our old tendency when we've been given our power away would be, when that should monster talks, I would lean into it, and give it extra attention, because they always speak with authority. The wisdom voices, they don't come out of they don't come out of the woodwork unsolicited and slap you around, tell you wise things. They're there for you to just like wise people in the world. You can go ask, and people should do this more and more and more. This is where your recovery voice comes from. Whenever you hear the negative voices, whenever you hear the things that you suspect are the bots, are the negative forces inside of yourself, take a moment and ask for the wisdom voice or the recovery voice to come speak to you. Write it down. Writing is a powerful way to get to access that recovery voice. And it really can help build it. Just like it's like working an atrophied muscle. It's like it's not gonna build on its own. You have to practice it.
Right. And I look at all of this work as revealing the goal to us. We're on the soccer field. We could see the goal now. And now it's up to us to head towards it and score a couple points.
Go that way. Yeah.
Yeah.